guys, we're gonna go through a fight breakdown of Grayson Fisher and Steven Acevedo's fight for Fight Flex series. And I put them both together just because they were both really quick and went over some key grappling issues. They both did a great job of dominating their opponents in the first round. So we'll start with Grayson Fisher's fight here. Just kind of Vaselining him up here. We can skip ahead and scrub through all of this. Absolute comedy with that poster there. All right, so this shot right here is what I call an inside double. Okay, it's when we shoot the head to the inside of our opponent's stance. So ortho, you're gonna be shooting your head to your opponent's right hip. I like Grayson to take a full shot here. When you get into a full shot, you start getting a little bit lower. It really forces your opponent or your partner to have to wrestle counter, as opposed to being able to just to dig underhooks or be able to counter you with a knee. So right here, Grayson comes in, takes a full shot, immediately gets his takedown, and he sets it up with an overhand. Now he's shooting from a little bit further away than maybe we would like. The overhand really has no chance of landing, but you know, gets the point across and gets the job done. Gets this takedown here, right up against his opponent's corner. Sometimes you can just tell when an opponent's gonna be just like abnormally strong and athletic, and I could just kind of tell this guy's physiology and the way his body was kind of shaped that he was just gonna be a strong guy and be like wiry strong, particularly in this first round. So we get him down and he starts to just kind of drag on the head and work to get up here. And Grayson makes a little bit of an error where he'll start to get high and start trying to address the head right there, instead of staying low on the hips, where I feel like we would have probably been able to control a bit more, or even going to the wrist right there. In any event, he goes high. His opponent does a great job of being able to get up really strong, get to his feet here, and digs his left arm underhook. So now we're kind of more in a 50-50 position, even though he still has the head. And again, this is a position where I'd love for Grayson to get back on the hips again and maybe reshoot, but with that underhook, that kind of gets thwarted a little bit. Grayson drives him all the way to the other side of the cage. Now this guy actually does a little pro move right here, puts his foot up against the cage to kind of bounce off and maintain his balance. Here, now he's in a really strong position, right? Because right here, they're just about head to head. Okay, head to head, chest to chest. Grayson no longer has the leverage of being lower and being closer to the hips. So now he's gonna start driving back into Grayson, giving him some of his own pressure. But Grayson feels that. Grayson's been wrestling for a really long time, so he's just a bit of an experienced grappler here. Does a great job of just switching his hips right here. So hips are facing his opponent, hips are now turned away from his opponent. And he's using that to throw with this overhook as he kind of clamps down on the opposite lat, opposite armpit. Gets this throw right here, really nice throw, all the way down. And here, a lot of people will get re-rolled. So sometimes in these positions, if this person on bottom rolls over their right hip, sometimes they can get a re-roll there or create a scramble. Grayson does a good job of addressing that by throwing his left leg over into mount. So right there, he's using that left foot to post, and he really controls this mount really well, okay? So from right here, he throws, and he just controls that mount into that mount position, okay? A lot of people get to mount, especially at the amateur level, and they kind of just hang out here and stall. I think they're so shocked that they got to mount and it's such a big position that they kind of just want to hold it, or they're just getting a little overwhelmed with the position and the moment in general. But Grayson does a good job right here of just posturing up and starting to immediately do damage. So postures right up, starts to do damage. His opponent kind of has an underhook here, which you really want to let go and get your arm back through. But because Grayson's hipping in so high, it's kind of making that really difficult for him. So he's punching, he's landing some really big shots right here, even though they're short. You know, they're not being blocked, they're going right to the head. And right here, his opponent gets into real big trouble. So obviously, this is a very vulnerable position that his opponent finds himself in, with his arm kind of caught in that underhook position. Finally, his opponent is able to get his arm through, giving up the back, and that's when Grayson sinks in the choke right here for the RNC finish and for the finale of the fight. So kind of a frantic pace right here in this fight. Now that I've broken it down, I'm actually just gonna go through and let the whole thing run, because it was such a short sprint right here. But there's the overhand to the inside double against the cage. Kind of makes a mistake right there, gets a little high, goes back to their cage. His opponent uses the foot right there on the cage, pushes back into Grayson, overhook throw, gets to mount, nice posture here, does good damage, and then eventually gets the back and gets that rear naked choke. Took absolutely no damage, made it look really simple. Shout out to Grayson Fisher, big things coming up for him. Should be fighting for a title here pretty soon. All right, so I'm gonna break down Steven Acevedo's fight. He also fought on that same Flex Fight Series card that Grayson Fisher fought on. It was a good night for the entire team, and you're gonna see why I've chosen these two fights to break down at the same time for this YouTube video. Both really dominant grapplers, did a great job of dominating their opponents in the first round and getting rear naked choke finished. So let's get right into this fight right here. You can go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. Jacob always gets the great B-roll. But that's not what you guys are here to see. You guys are here to see some fights. All right, so here we go. Right off the bat, I thought his opponent did a great job right here timing this knee. And again, just good wherewithal for his opponent. Probably his opponent knew that Steven was a good wrestler, high-level grappler, and he wanted to throw a knee that was going to kind of stop him in his tracks, and does a really great job right there. Thankfully, Steven's technique is always on point and always solid. So right here, he does a good job of keeping his head up. His head is down. There's a chance that maybe he runs into that knee and we get into some trouble. But with his head up right here, he's able to just kind of take that knee right on the chest and not the head, and that puts him in generally good position. He's able to get in on the hips right here and takes the back of his opponent right off the back kind of immediately. So, you know, right away, just like Grayson, he was able to get right into a grappling exchange and get top position. And Steven, you're gonna see, just did a great job this entire fight controlling from this back position. Starts immediately with a tight waist, starts landing some big shots with his right hand, gets into kind of an over-under and gets right into a mat return. And we drill this all the time, the mat return off the takedown as they get back up. And Steven just does a good job right here, popping his hips, engaging his core, engaging his legs, and getting a nice mat return right there. We'll slow it down so you can see it a little more clear. Boom, beautiful mat return. And, you know, I think he's gonna go near side hook right here as he's just controlling, throws that near side hook in, so that's his right leg that he's throwing in as a near side hook. And he's able to just kind of really threaten the choke right here at the same time as landing good ground and pound. So he's going from the choke, that harness, to landing some good ground and pound with that right hand. And again, just maintaining good control, good posture right here. I mean, look at that posture, is nice and strong. He's not just backpacking him. He's really looking to do damage as well. Kind of let some of this play through. Yeah, big shots that he's landing right here. And just doing a good job of maintaining this top position, grabbing the wrist. This is kind of nice. His opponent actually is like such a good athlete and a good scrambler that even out of this bad position where his wrist is caught, he's able to just turn in really with nothing more than just his core strength and hip strength right here, just turning in. But Steven does a great job of kind of wrapping the head and spinning the hips around and is able to maintain good position right here and still kind of get to the back. So we'll show that one more time. His opponent kind of explodes in, but Steven kind of beats the hips and still ends up in that same position with that tight waist and gets right back to work with his right hand, trying to land shots. And you'll see this pattern keep kind of emerging off that right hand. Back, another big mat return right there. And again, we just drill this so much in MMA where a person gets up and we just mat return that's kind of second nature at this point. Good takedown there and good control with the waist. And here he spins to the back. And I don't love this transition where we're gonna give up top control just to get to the back. I would much rather just stay on top here and look to do damage. And if we're gonna throw hooks in, let's throw them in on top. But, you know, he turns and tries to take that back right here. And ultimately, he's still in really great position. It's not the end of the world. His opponent's doing a good job of defending. Steven's still kind of peppering some shots right here. And he's doing a good job of that the whole fight. Controlling with one arm, peppering shots with the other arm. That's really high level. His opponent tries to turn in, almost beats him here, you know, right there. Had that left arm of his opponent gone into an underhook on the hips instead of the near side leg here, he might have been able to get out of that position. But because when he reaches near side leg, Steven's able to pull it out and still maintain the back right here. And Steven, again, just right on the back, doing a great job, controlling damage. And he's gonna go from landing that shot to throwing right into that choking arm. So the entire fight, Steven's been setting this up, right? Landing right hands, landing right hands, landing right hands. Now he kind of fakes it, goes right into the choke. One hook in, the other hook in, flattens them out, and there he gets the tap for that rear naked choke finish. So again, just good stuff here by Steven. A lot of good mat returns, a lot of good top positional control from that top referees. And here's kind of the icing on the cake, was throwing that right hand into a choking position, flattening them out, and getting that rear naked choke finish. So shout out to Steven Acevedo, shout out to Grayson Fisher. Both did a great job, dominating fashion, using their grappling to take absolutely no damage and finish their opponents in the first round.